Oh, there it is. Hello, it's your friendly cowboy. I turned it sideways because I know most people now, well, from the beginning, they always turn their phone sideways to look at videos. So, the reason I'm talking to y'all today is, just a little bit, is, oh, and by the way, I have it on beauty mode, so it must make me look beautiful. Anyway, I have to say this. I don't know. They really haven't talked about this. I mean, some people have talked about this, but what's going on with this antifa and the continuous and the continuum and the continuum. I don't even know if that's the right way to say that. But anyway, for antifa or whatever they're called, acronym for assholes. Anyway, the problem I'm having is that people are not connecting certain things that I'm starting to notice. Okay, I'm a little bit of a history buff, and let's start at the beginning. During all these riots and stuff like that, they interviewed a woman, and she said they strictly go by Marxism. They are trained in Marxism, which I don't know if you could be trained in Marxism because it's an idea. But anyway, I don't know if there's any special moves like karate. I don't know. Anyway, so Marxism, what they think is Marxism, was a book written a long time ago, and its name was something Marx. Hang on. It wasn't Groucho Marx. It'd be funny if it was. But, I can't think of his name. But it was a form of idea to create a system of power that one government agency run it all and everybody was equal. And they figured that'd be a great idea, except for Marxism in its true capacity leads to, I guess it would lead to like totalitarianism. Anyway, it leads to one group of people controlling everybody in the world. So, but because they were considered elitist, they knew more than everybody, they thought more than everybody, they were schooled more than everybody. For some reason, they forget about the human mental capacity to, how would I say it, to grow, to expand, to enlighten their own selves through physical learning, through mental learning, and through just visual learning. But the thing about Marxism, it was very, very strict and regulated. Now, Lenin, I know his name, Vladimir Lenin. He, at the end of World War I, which was around 1917, I think it started in 1912 to 1917, 1912, 19... Anyway, Russia didn't do very good during that war. I think they were akin to Germany at the time, because Germany has a tendency to want to go to war every 50 or 60 years. Anyway, so yes, World War I and World War II, we fought against the Germans. I don't remember who the Allies were in World War I. I strictly remember World War II. That was closer to my age. Anyway, so what Lenin did was read Marxism, read the book of Marxism, and then he kind of perverted it a little bit in his way, add a little here, take a little there, whatever, and they started calling it Leninism. Now, during this revolution between 1917 and 1924 was the Bolshevik Revolution. It was the one that happened in Russia. Now, there were other parties that were fighting for power. There were conservatives, believe it or not, that wanted power, but they didn't quite get the power that they wanted. So they eventually fell by the wayside. But there was three major factions. It was the Bolsheviks, the Red Army, and the White Army. I don't know why they were called the Red Army and the White Army. Maybe they had red and white clothes. I don't know. So what happens is that now that they started the revolution. Now, Lenin, he kind of held back a little bit. They did a little fighting and stuff like that. Then Lenin eventually just went through it all and conquered it all. With a little help of side armies and stuff like that. That he had little hookups and stuff that would help him out. Anyway, he actually took control over Russia. So, the mixture of Marxism and Leninism ended up being communism, which now we know in our age, because kids these days, they don't know who the USSR was, and that we were in a Cold War for what, all the way from basically the into 1940, into World War One or two. It's 1945. Complete end of World War II is 1945. Where the Japanese surrendered on the battleship. I can't remember what battleship. I should know. I was in the Navy. I want to say it was. Anyway, that's terrible. I don't remember that name of that ship. Anyway, so signed the Declaration of Treaty. Declaration of Surrender, and then starting about 1950, 1951. That's when the Cold War really started to kick in. Because we had a smart man that was deemed not smart enough, or actually he was called politically incorrect. Patton made a very strong argument at the end of World War II that we should have went in and kicked Russia's ass. He said, we got tanks here, why don't we just go over there to Russia and kick your ass, because we're going to have trouble with them. Everyone, oh no, they're our allies. It's okay, they're our allies. It's good, they're our allies. It's okay. It's okay. We're drinking, we're partying because we won the war. No, it didn't work that way. Eventually, Russia became one of our strongest adversaries. So, what we did is we cut them off. It's called Cold War. And during that Cold War, we was always fighting with them. We didn't want their products. They didn't want our products. Every time they went into our waters, we yelled at them. Every time that we went into their waters, they yelled at them. Even though Russia always claimed 50 miles out, even though it's only really 3 miles or 5 miles. I don't know. Anyway, international water, I believe, is 3 miles out. But so we're out there. So we're fighting with them. Now, I said that to tell you this. During the 1916, right at the end of the war, there was a big uprising of the people. They knew that the government was weak because they just lost the war. So they went after the government. The people did. Certain factions of the people. That's why Lenin came in and crushed it all. That's why Lenin came in and whipped everybody's ass. Now, during that war, Bolshevik War, or Revolution, anywhere from, it says anywhere from 7 to, I think, 12 million people died. Could be more. That's a very conservative estimate. And most of them were civilians. Now, these civilians were the farmers, the people, storekeeps. They got caught in the middle of all this, and they got slaughtered. Now, kind of reminds me it kind of reminds you of what's going on right now with Antifa. They believe in Marxism, which we all know, as I said, eventually ends up being communism. Now, they could say, oh no, we're not that way. Every government has ever said that. That's went into this type of situation and tried to overthrow the government. I'm not saying they're trying to overthrow our government. I'm saying that the premise is there that for long periods of time during this, if this lasts long periods of time, let's say a year from now, they're still every once in a while rioting in the streets. Antifa's here. Can't stop them now. I'm not saying they have a big following, but they have a large following, but they have a big following. They have a lot of people that want to be anarchist. And that guy saying that it's a, I know he's the head of the FBI. Maybe you should take a page from J. Edgar Hoover, the man that was tasked by Teddy Roosevelt. And you can fact check this stuff. Tasked by Teddy Roosevelt to go after communism. That was our main. That was the main job of the FBI back then, to search out and find communism. To search out and find one of them's that's his job. That was J. Edgar Hoover's job, to search out communism. Now, they had another guy, of course we all know about him, that searched out mob bosses and stuff like that. Elliot Ness. So, I think our FBI should look into this a little bit more seriously. Now, I understand that they said that they're also looking into white power, Ku Klux Klan, all that different stuff. Now, racism, when it comes to that, a little bit more sneaky, a little bit more subversive. Antifa's yelling in our face. And they need to start looking at those people. They need to really start looking at those people. Start looking who's the people funding these people. It's not an ideology. It's an ideology in theory. But when it comes to the people, it's a physical thing. Because you can have an ideology, but if you ain't got the people to follow it, then it's just worthless. But they have the people to follow it. They have the ideology and they have the groups of people to do it. So need to start looking into Antifa. And they probably are. I don't know, it's the FBI. They've gotten a lot of stuff wrong here lately. They need to quit worrying about which president is chosen over what president, or what person is chosen over what person to be president. And quit looking into trying to fake stuff. Now, just remember also, now our FBI has gotten in trouble. It's slowly coming down that we find out that a lot of stuff that they wanted Trump arrested for, they made up. Or they wanted to kick out of presidency. They made up. And it was only a small group of them in the FBI, but that small group was at the top. They were trained, not by Antifa, but by the Democratic Party. I'm not saying all Democrats are that way. There's a lot of them. It seems like the ones at the top are getting that way. It seems like one guy said, maybe, just maybe, that we need to get rid of all the older Democrats and Republicans too. Don't let that fool you, because there's a lot of Republicans. Heck, the one that what's his name didn't run again for Arizona. It's always talking out about Trump. Mitt Romney is one of them. Mitt Romney wants power. He's always wanting power. There are certain groups of people, whether religious or not, they want power. And the power of doing stuff when they want to. Kind of like Nancy Pelosi got caught doing her hair when she told all the salons they had to close, or the salons that were open had to cut hair outside, which is the most ridiculous goddamn thing in the world. But, get some sun. I got another video I'm going to make up right after this. It's about something else. But I want you to think about that. Antifa is a little bit stronger than we think. Maybe we start looking at maybe we should start looking at our neighbors. I'm not saying rat them. I'm trying to figure out why, if you know a neighbor that's that way, why they think that way. Why did they choose to think that way? why they believe the false narrative that's getting thrown out there all the time. Like recently, Trump said that they said that he didn't want to go out there because those people died and they were losers. You know, people that died in the war, World War II. They're still running with that narrative. And the problem is that so-called unnamed sources on the other side of the fence, they named all their sources, 10 of them. It said, you can ask him, they were there. Here's the email stating that they had to cancel because of weather. They were there. They said they'd never heard him say that. So, and you know he's always for the military. Always for the military. Heck, he gave us more money than Obama did. Shit. Well, gave them. I'm not in the military anymore. Anyway, and just remember, Antifa's not just, I'll tell you this in a heartbeat. Those people that sympathize with Antifa are government officials and stuff like that. There's a reason why they sympathize. Because they believe in the same thing that Antifa does. Look at Minneapolis. Defunded the police department. Guess what happened? They call the police now. Police don't come. So, what does that tell you? They defund the police. They voted to defund the police department, and then they expect the police department to do their job. With what? Money out of their own pocket? There's some cops that'll stay around. And that's the beginning. Get rid of the organizations that are above the people right away. That's what they do. Police department. Town council. Eventually they'll be going after government officials. Governors. Well, they already went after one governor. Governors, they will slowly. And it doesn't have to it doesn't have to happen right now. It's a slow process. It's a slow, even process that they're slowly going to whittle away, and they get more and more people believing in more and more of the same thing, and eventually you have a huge group that believes in no cops, no government. I'm all for very limited government, but I ain't all for no government. We do have to have a set of laws that we need to follow. Well, it's Friendly Cowboy. Now remember, be good to your neighbors. If you can't be good to your neighbors, be good to yourself, be good to your neighbors. And maybe we should start discounting people. Maybe we should start worrying about them people that are actually on the borderline, on the edge. Y'all know who they are. Talk to them. Try to reason with them. Y'all have a good day. Bye.